doesn't feel like a real rivalry, maybe a friendly competition. I don't hate Hop, even though I should. Bede is the other rival in this game, and no, I'm not going to talk about Marnie because she basically doesn't do anything. It's almost like you could take Marnie out of the game completely and nothing would change. Bede at first was very interesting to me. He seemed very full of himself and got genuinely upset when you beat him. He really looked up to Rose and seems to have a father figure in him. Then it's revealed that Rose was only using him to get wishing stars and shit for his evil plan, and Bede just doesn't react. He goes on to become a gym leader but doesn't do anything about being used by his dad. Like, okay, let's just ignore the fact that the man who adopted you, used you and threw you away. The most similar parallel I can think of is N and Gessies. When N realized he was being used, he straight up leaves to go on a soul-searching journey, and then the game ends. When he comes back in the sequel, you can tell he really changed as a person. This may be a poor example, but you get my point. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the characters because none of the other ones are worth talking about. In short, the post-game sucks. You basically fight these two dudes with the worst looking haircuts in creation. They try to reclaim the region because they're royal descendants or something. But it just makes you wonder where they were when the whole region was in an apocalypse, or where they were in any part of the game really. There's a few max raid battles and that's it. But there's the battle tower. I hear you say, bitch, the battle tower is super easy and doesn't even have any cool people to fight. Like at least the battle tree had red and blue come back, plus many other loved characters. Seeing them makes you want to challenge it. There's nothing like that in these games. Leon shows up at the end of every tier, but he uses like the same 4 Pokémon. My favorite post-game is the Delta episode. Zinnia was a really intriguing character to learn about, and the Delta episode isn't just latched on at the end. Like, multiple times throughout the game you see Zinnia and hear more things about her story. My point is that there's actual build-up. It also unlocks a new area. I miss when post-games did that. Adding new areas and battle modes, I mean. Man, I really miss that. I know the national dex problem was a deal breaker for a lot of people, but for me personally I didn't really care. I do think it's disappointing though. Especially if you can't have a favorite Pokémon to play with. But I mean, there's like 900 Pokémon now, guys. Did you really expect Game Freak to have all new models done in time? It seems that they're trying to make up for that with the DLC, but it's probably too little too late for a lot of people. Also, speaking of DLC, holy shit, there's DLC for Pokémon now. On one hand, I'm very upset that there's a price tag for older Pokémon who are just getting added, but on the other hand there's a new character named Mustard and I think that's pretty great. So will I buy the DLC? Yes, probably, because I sold my soul to this franchise ages ago. Another paid service they're adding now is called Pokémon Home. I think its purpose is similar to Pokémon Bank, transferring Pokémon from games that aren't compatible with certain systems. That makes sense with the Switch being Nintendo's new console. I'm not using it, so forgive me if I'm wrong with a few details, but some legendaries are locked for some reason, and there seems to be a paywall for many of the services. There's also the national dex problem to think about, so I don't really know how it would work. The last thing is the animations. No, not the graphics, the animations. It feels really sloppy and rushed, especially when you can clearly tell that they just reused old animations. And this is just a really minor thing, but in the opening cutscene, why do I have to press the button to continue text? I just really hate how he stops for you to press the button, and it's not even like a smooth kind of stop either. His whole model kind of jimmies a bit. They fix it in later cutscenes, just not the opening one. It's really awkward and I hate it. Other little nitpicks include things like Leon's Charizard. Like, okay dude, I get it, Charizard was every kid's favorite starter, and you would get punked on if you chose something like Bulbasaur. But this isn't 1999 anymore. Let the other cool Pokémon from this region get the spotlight. Charizard already has 2 Mega Evolutions, for fuck's sake. I also really hate how the starters turned out, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm not a designer, but they really got hit with the ugly stick. Why do I have to wear uniforms for things like riding a bike or walking into a stadium? At most it should just be a helmet. I want to wear regular shorts. That's all I ask, Game Freak. Like just regular non-gym challenger kind of shorts. Ironically, I think there are actually less customization options than last generations. Why does Milo not have a nose? He's uncomfortably buff, and something about his overall composition makes me scared. I know that adding voice acting could turn people off, but if you have a gym leader whose whole gimmick is being a lead singer in a punk band, voice acting is kind of necessary. I mean, come on, you did this in Generation 5 really well. Because there's clearly lip syncing happening, but they don't talk. Hey, I am so fucking tired of Rotom taking control of my shit. I don't need a Rotom to make my bike faster, that's just called pedaling harder. The Pokédex isn't even a separate device anymore, it's an app added to your Rotom phone. If I had a Rotom phone before my journey started, does that mean Rotom was technically my first Pokémon? Why am I not able to battle with this sick Pokémon? Why do I have to confine it to my fucking phone? At least this time he doesn't talk to you in quips like he does in Sun and Moon. In fact, Rotom was the entire reason why I can't enjoy Sun and Moon anymore. The thing is, I know most of these problems could have been fixed if they just waited a couple of months. It makes me wonder if they'll do something similar to Platinum and Emerald, where they release the same game but with better story pacing, improved graphics, and even some new gameplay elements. Or maybe they'll pull an Ultra Sun and Moon situation, where it's the same fucking game but with one or two new things added to the story. Game Freak has a history with taking time to get used to a new software. Diamond and Pearl, the first DS Pokémon games, are notoriously slow. They even delayed it a couple of times during its development. Platinum, the third game of the Sinnoh series, is much faster and has the added Battle Frontier. I really don't want that to happen to these games, but the content in this game is maybe a fraction of the content offered in any of the 3DS family of games. Here's a poorly made pie chart I made. I know Game Freak will never hear my pleas, but you guys, you have to stop pulling this bullshit. I know there's merchandise to be made and shows to think about before a release of a new game, but seriously, just take your time. Sometimes I'll be playing some of the older games and be like, damn, I really miss the Safari Zone, or the Pokemon theme, or the Pokeathlon, or even just like, the fossil digging minigame. Yet despite all that, I think these games are still very impressive for the amount of time they were made in. It still has all the charm that Pokémon has, and I still love the series. But I hope to God they fix all of this in the future though. Okay, to end on a positive note, I'm going to quickly list the things I liked and think were done well. The Battle Towers theme and Marnie's battle theme are absolute bangers. I like the Dynamax animations for each of the characters, each are unique to their person and stylized really well. The idea of making the gyms like a national sport watched by the whole region is really cool and made me feel very epic. I really love Sirfetch'd. He's such a chap. I named mine Turducken and he's great. Some of the evolution methods are really unorthodox and I got really excited to learn about all the new kinds. Pokemon Camp is pretty neat and the curry minigame is funny. Not needing to go to a center to access boxes is one of my favorite features, so glad they carried that on from the Let's Go games. I love how the Elite Four are taken out and replaced by a championship tournament. Very cool. Yeah, that's about